Dale read the email 3 times. He was sitting in the hauler at Phoenix Raceway, a cup of coffee going cold beside him, and he read it 3 times because the first 2 times he thought he had misread it. He hadn't. Effective this weekend, NASCAR has mandated a mid-race competition caution at lap 150. All pit road speed limits will be reduced by 15 miles per hour. Additionally, stage points will be redistributed under the new trial scoring format. Teams have been notified. Teams had been notified. He was the crew chief. He had not been notified until 47 minutes before practice opened. He set his phone down on the small folding table and looked at the wall. Outside, he could hear the air guns running, the sound of his guys torquing lug nuts and checking tire pressures and doing all the work they had prepared for all week based on a strategy that no longer existed. A strategy he had built around no mid-race caution, around normal pit road speeds, around stage points that meant something different now. He picked up his phone and called his driver. Marcus answered on the second ring. "You see it?" "I saw it." "What does it do to us?" Dale pulled up the spreadsheet on his laptop, the one he had spent Tuesday and Wednesday building. He looked at the lap numbers. He looked at the fuel window. He looked at where the caution would now fall, right in the middle of what he had planned as their longest green flag run. The run where they would cycle out front on strategy. "It moves our pit window," he said. "We lose the undercut on the leaders." "How bad?" "Depends on what everyone else does. But our car is fast on long runs. Short runs were average. They just took away our long runs." There was a pause. Outside, a car fired up somewhere in the garage. The sound came through the hauler walls and then faded. "Can we adjust?" Marcus asked. "I'm working on it," Dale said. He wasn't sure he could. The car was fast. That was the strange thing. Marcus came on the radio after his 3rd lap, and his voice had that particular flatness that meant he was genuinely pleased, which was rare. "It's right," he said. "Front end is right. I can do whatever I want with it." Dale watched the timesheet on his monitor. They were 3rd. They would be 1st if Marcus pushed, but Dale had told him not to push. Save the tires. They needed to know what the tires did over a long run, except now the runs would not be long. He keyed his radio. "Start pushing. Let's see what the short run speed looks like." Marcus pushed. 2 laps later, he was 2nd. 1 lap after that, he was 1st by a 10th. "Okay," Marcus said. "Okay, she's got short run speed too." Dale made a note. He recalculated. Short run speed changed things. It didn't fix everything, but it opened a door he hadn't seen before. If they could be fast on short runs and long runs, the mid-race caution became less of a penalty and more of a reset. A reset everyone had to deal with equally. Unless someone had known sooner, the thought arrived without invitation. He looked down the pit road at the other haulers. 3 teams had been unusually quiet all morning. No radio chatter bleeding through. No engineers standing outside looking frustrated. They looked settled. They looked like men who had already solved a problem. He looked at the timestamp on the email again. He had received it 47 minutes before practice. Some teams might have received it earlier. NASCAR sent notifications in batches sometimes, depending on the server load, depending on the contact list order. It was never intentional, it was just how the system worked. But 47 minutes was not much time. And those 3 teams looked like they'd had more than 47 minutes. He said nothing about it. Not yet. He wrote down the 3 team numbers in the margin of his notepad and kept watching the timesheet. Robbie from NASCAR competition came to the hauler at 4 in the afternoon. He knocked, which was polite. Dale opened the door and looked at him. "You have a minute?" Robbie asked. "Sure." They sat across from each other at the small table. Robbie had a bottle of water he didn't open. He set it down and put his hands flat on the table. "We wanted to check in with teams," Robbie said. "Make sure everyone had what they needed. Appreciate that. Any questions about the new format?" Dale looked at him. Robbie was a reasonable man. Dale had known him for 6 years. He was not the kind of man who came to haulers to check in. He was the kind of man who sent emails and let teams come to him. The notification went out in batches, Dale said. Robbie nodded slowly. It did. Server issue. I know that's not ideal. Some teams got it earlier than others. That's possible. Robbie picked up the water bottle and turned it in his hands without opening it. It wasn't intentional. The timing was a logistical problem, not— I know it wasn't intentional, Dale said. I'm not saying it was. Robbie looked at him. But some teams had more preparation time. That's a real thing. It is, Robbie said. We know that. We're looking at the notification system for future races. For future races, Robbie agreed. They sat with that for a moment. The air conditioning hummed. Outside, someone was laughing in the garage. The sound was bright and brief. Is there anything we can do for you this weekend? Robbie asked. Dale thought about the 3 team numbers written in the margin of his notepad. He thought about what he could say and what he could prove and what difference it made if he said it now versus after the race. He thought about Marcus, who had driven well today and deserved a crew chief who was focused on the car and not on paperwork. No, Dale said. We're good. Robbie nodded and left. Dale sat for a long time after the door closed. Marcus put it on the front row. It was not complicated. He went out late in the session when the track was at its fastest, and he found every bit of grip, and the car responded, and the lap time appeared on the board, and people in the stands made noise, and Marcus came on the radio and said simply, "That's all she had." First row. Outside pole. In the press conference afterwards, someone asked Marcus if the new format changed his approach. Marcus looked at the reporter the way drivers look at questions they have already answered in their own minds. Every race you have to adapt, Marcus said. This is just another thing to adapt to. Dale watched from the back of the room. He was thinking about tire management. He was thinking about the lap 150 caution and what tire age the leaders would be on when it came out, and whether they should pit before it or stay out and take fresh tires when everyone else did. He was also thinking about something Marcus had said in the car on the way back from the track check that morning. Something small. The wall feels different this year. Phoenix had been repaved in sections over the off-season. Dale knew this, but Marcus wasn't talking about the asphalt texture. He was talking about the way the car loaded against the wall in turn 2, the way the front end felt when he ran the high line, like the banking was slightly different, like the geometry had shifted just enough to change the feel without changing the numbers. Dale had not seen anything in the survey data, but Marcus trusted his hands more than he trusted survey data, and so did Dale. After the press conference, Dale walked the track alone. He walked turn 2 and he stood on the high line and he looked at the wall and he crouched down and looked at the painted surface of the track. He found it on his third pass, a seam, subtle, 6 inches wide, where the new pavement met the old pavement and had settled slightly unevenly. Not enough to show in any measurement, enough to feel. He stood up and looked at the sky, which was going orange now in the west. The seam was right where Marcus ran his best laps. He told Marcus about the seam over breakfast. Marcus listened without speaking. He ate his eggs and listened, and when Dale finished, he was quiet for a moment. Does it get worse over the run? Marcus asked. I don't know. It could. If the track rubbers in unevenly around it, it could get more pronounced. Or it could settle and disappear. So we won't know until it's happening. No. Marcus drank his coffee. Okay, that was all he said. Okay, Dale had worked with drivers who would have spent an hour on it, asking questions that had no answers, building anxiety about a thing that might not matter. Marcus said okay and moved on to the next thing, which was the race setup and the tire strategy and whether the air pressure in the left rear should go up by half a pound. It was why Dale had stayed with him for 9 years. The pre-race was ordinary. It was always ordinary, and it always felt strange because of how unordinary the thing it preceded was. People ate and stretched and checked equipment and made small talk. The chaplain spoke, the anthem played, the cars fired. Dale put on his headset and watched Marcus pull to the grid. His spotter, Ray, clicked on. Clear up top, some clouds moving in from the west. Weather service says maybe some wind by lap 200. Copy, Dale said. Wind at Phoenix. Wind changed everything. It changed downforce balance, it changed brake temps, it changed how the car moved through the air in the corners. Wind was one more variable layered on top of all the other variables. He looked at the 3 teams he had written down in his notepad. Their cars were lined up in the 4th, 7th, and 11th positions. None of them on the front row. None of them obviously better prepared. Maybe he had been wrong. Maybe the extra time hadn't mattered. The command was given. The engines answered. On lap 60, Marcus was running second, and the car was perfect. On lap 90, there was a problem. It started as a vibration. Marcus mentioned it the way he mentioned most things, matter-of-factly, without alarm. Little something in the right front. Dale told him to describe it. Marcus described it. It was not a tire. It was not a wheel bearing. It was the way the car was responding in turn 2, the right front pushing and then releasing in a rhythm that wasn't right. The seam. It's the seam, Dale said. I know, Marcus said. Runs from about the wall down through the middle of the lane now. It's raised up, maybe a 1/4 inch. Can you go under it? A pause. The car appeared out of turn 4, running second, looking clean. I can try. It's slower down there. I'll lose time. Dale did the math. Second place, running comfortably, losing small amounts of time each lap versus first place fighting the seam, getting worse over the run. He looked at his tire data. He looked at the lap times. He looked at who was running third, which was one of the 3 teams. Stay where you are for now, Dale said. Tell me if it gets worse. 20 laps later, Marcus said, it's worse. How much? It's going to tear a tire if I keep running it. Dale looked at the lap count. 60 laps to the stage break. Too far to go on a compromised tire. Box next lap, Dale said. We'll take 4 tires and track position on the restart. Copy. Marcus pitted. The stop was clean. He came out 5th. When the stage ended, the car that had been running 3rd came to pit road and did not stop. It kept going. It drove past the pit boxes, straight to the garage. Tire failure. Same corner. Same seam. The mid-race caution came out exactly on schedule. Marcus was running 3rd. He had worked back from 5th in 30 laps on old tires, and he was not happy about it, but he had done it. Good job, Dale said. Now here's what we're going to do. He laid out the strategy. Everyone on pit road was going to take 4 tires because that was what you did at a mid-race caution. If they took 2, they would have better track position, but they would lose time in the long run because Phoenix was hard on right sides. But if everyone took 4, track position on the restart came down to who had the fastest stop. Their stop was a 10.8. It felt good. Marcus said nothing for 3 laps, which was not unusual. Then he said, we have a problem. Dale's chest tightened. Talk to me. The right rear. The guy at the back of the box kicked it. I felt it go down. Ray confirmed from above, seeing some vibration in the right rear. She's getting loose. A flat tire. Lap 155. Green flag pit stops from here. The pit road speed reduction meant every stop cost them more time. A flat tire stop in this situation meant they would exit the pits in 15th at best. Dale had one option. It was not a good option. Marcus, listen to me. We're going to drive it. Silence. We have 12 laps before the green flag stops cycle through. If we can stay on the track those 12 laps without losing more than 1 spot per lap, we exit the cycle inside the top 10. If we pit now, we're 15th. More silence. It's your call, Dale said. It's your car. You tell me. The radio was quiet for 4 seconds. Dale watched the right rear on his camera feed. It was low. Not flat yet. low. "How many laps?" Marcus asked. 12. "Okay," Marcus said. 12 laps. A car that was soft on the right rear. A seam in turn 2 that had already taken one car to the garage. 12 laps. Dale looked at the monitor and breathed and waited. The first 3 laps were survivable. Marcus lost 1 position. The right rear held. Dale watched the tire temperature data and the pressure data, and the numbers told him it was degrading but not catastrophically. Lap 4. Another position lost. 8th now. Lap 5. Marcus went on the radio. "It's talking to me. The whole right side of the car moves when I go over the seam." "Where are you running?" "Bottom. I can't go up." "How far can you push it?" "I don't know." That was the truest answer. Neither of them knew. A tire with a slow leak at Phoenix speeds in race trim was not something you could calculate. You drove it until it held, or until it didn't, and you managed it as carefully as you could, and you accepted that the margin between those 2 outcomes was not entirely in your control. Lap 6. No positions lost. The tire was stabilizing, maybe. Lap 7. Marcus was quiet. Lap 8. A car ahead pitted under green. Marcus moved to 7th without doing anything. Lap 9. "She feels the same," Marcus said. "Not better, not worse. Copy. 3 more laps." Lap 10. Another car pitted. 6th. Lap 11. The tire data jumped. Dale's stomach jumped with it. "Marcus." "I feel it," Marcus said. "It's going. Can you make 1 more lap?" The longest silence of the day. "1 more lap," Marcus said. Dale watched the screen. He watched the right rear on the camera. He watched the lap counter. He watched the gap to the car ahead. Marcus came to pit road at the end of lap 12. They took the tire. They put a fresh right rear on. The stop was fast. Marcus came out 7th. He said nothing for a long time. Then, "We're okay." Dale exhaled. He looked at the lap count. 102 laps remaining. Outside, the sun had dropped behind the grandstands, and the shadows were long across the track, and the cars moved through them in a line, bright and loud and carrying everything their teams had prepared and calculated and improvised and worried over. "We're okay," Dale said. And then, quietly, so only he could hear it, he said it again.